Okay, let's talk about a specific icon of the resurrection. Icon just is, it comes from Greek, meaning image. Let's talk about this ancient depiction, painting, fresco of the resurrection that comes to us not from Western culture. Ready? Eastern icons of the resurrection from the other side of the world in part of Christianity that stayed using the Greek New Testament, that didn't start using the Latin, but stayed over on that side, have a very different understanding of the gospel because they maintained, in some ways, the universality of the gospel so much more. And here is a famous representation of the gospel, well, actually specifically of Jesus being resurrected. Okay? Let's talk through it though. Here is my personal little wooden icon. I took a picture of it. But let's talk through it. What are some noteworthy parts of this icon of the resurrection? Okay. First off, icons are not necessarily looking to be historically accurate. They're looking to be theologically accurate in what they communicate. This is because they were often made by and for illiterate believers in the early church. See what I mean? So actually, a certain picture, a painting, can communicate a whole theology just with an image that otherwise, if you were to write a book about it, it would go nowhere because the majority of human population have historically been illiterate. Okay? But if you notice, Jesus is not resurrected alone here. He's being raised from the dead, sure, but he's pulling two people up with him. Okay? He is simply the first person resurrected here. And he's resurrecting Adam and Eve, which is symbolic of all humanity, by hand with him. Okay? John the Baptist, King David, and King Solomon are on the left as witnesses of all of this. Abel with the staff, you know the story of Cain and Abel in Genesis 4. Abel is there with the staff. Moses and Elijah are on the right as witnesses as well. And so you have figures from biblical history almost as if they're present, like a cloud of witnesses, being present to this event. What's underneath his feet? Well, it's the gates of hell, the doors. They're trampled beneath his feet and make something like a cross. Now, I understand you might say that's more of an X, but that's because in ancient Greek, they sometimes crucified people on a cross like this, but sometimes crosses were this. Okay? Not to mention it's the Greek letter chi, which was short for Christ. At the bottom, you can see that there are broken chains and locks scattered in the abyss or hell, that darkness there, because Christ descended into the abyss, hell, and released all the captives in a divine jailbreak. This is also known as the harrowing of hell. The chains are broke. The chains have gone flying. They're just shattered into pieces, right? And then death is personified and bound up in the chains that were once used against humanity. So this picture is carrying quite a lot of meaning in it. Okay? The two mountains in the background might symbolize Sinai and Golgotha, the two most important mountains in biblical history. Sinai, where the law is given to Moses, and Golgotha, where Christ is crucified outside of Jerusalem by the religious and political leaders of his day. Now, this part is really interesting. Christ there in the center is shrouded in a darkening light. You see how the outer parts are the light blue and the inner parts are darker and darker blue? Well, Christ is shrouded in a darkening light, symbolizing that the deeper one looks into the mystery of Christ, the more mystery is discovered. Like in the darkness, you know? A mystery is not something unknowable. A mystery is something endlessly knowable. The more you look at the Christ, the more questions, the more mystery you will discover. and it's symbolized by dark light there. And if you notice, Christ still has wounds on his hands and feet from the event of the resurrection here. Okay. Now, this icon of the resurrection is so powerful because it's pulling Adam and Eve up out of the grave, and they're symbolic of all of humanity. Okay. He's pulling back up into God the very earliest Christians, the very first people, really. And we need to maybe stop and recognize that in the West, we largely have a personalized, individualistic understanding of the gospel. But these icons of the resurrection are always a communal event, and it's communal because the gospel is actually cosmic. It's not individualistic. It's about the reconciliation, redemption, renewal of everyone and everything. And so that's why I really enjoy this icon of the resurrection from Eastern Christianity.